Alright guys, here we are again on another site visit, and what we're doing today is snagging. Now what we've done and we found really helpful is to meet with our builder yesterday, and we walked around the property and had a preliminary discussion about snagging. And this means that we can align our expectations. So as we're going around, the builder will tell us exactly what they're already aware of and taking care of, and then we get to also let them know what our expectations are on the finish. And this just creates an easier environment to work in when we're snagging, because then we're not having to snag every single item, but there is a general understanding about the finish and about expectations. So all good.
The process we like to use for snagging is first going to our builders and using a template or a list that they're familiar with. So when we send them the details, they already know what it looks like and how to follow those instructions. As we go around the property, we're going to go around in a sequence, and we're going to go room by room so it stays simple and it's not confusing for our builders. We're going to look for and we're going to test different items within each room, and we're going to use our post-it notes to spot out anything that we see and test. So each of the post-it notes will be numbered, and that will match up to the list and the action that's needed by the builders. We're also going to use the colours as well, so we can itemise what we're seeing in the room. So we might use blue for plumbing, yellow for electrics, just to keep that simplicity again and to avoid confusion.
So one of the things we're looking for are visual snags. So this is anything cosmetic to do with decorating or woodwork. So some of the more common things might be the edges of your doors, where they've been planed to fit the frames correctly. You may have some touch up to your paintwork here. Also, when your furniture's been moved in, there's often scuffs to the paintwork, and especially the door frames. So it's really important to check your door frames if any touch-ups are needed here. And finally, another really common one is around switches and sockets. Sometimes you might find there are a few little gaps that need filling, so it's another good place to check for snags.
Okay, so in addition to your visual snagging, you also want to do some functional snagging. And there are a couple of things to look out for and some of the things that we commonly observe. So you can see here that, for example, the fire door closers have gone in, and we've got a fire safety officer coming in a couple of days to check all of those. But it's also useful for yourself to make sure that the closing mechanisms are working the way you want them to as well. So as an example, just a small test, making sure those close really well. The other thing is that we want to make sure that all the electrics and the sockets and the switches are working well in the property. So making sure that they're all fine. We'll also test these with some appliances as well, making sure that they're working well. And then if we take a look at things like plumbing, functionally, that's also a thing an area to look out for. So for example, your basins, all your taps are working well, but also that they're fitted firmly as well. So that's often an area that potentially could be a snag that people miss, is how well secured that tap is. And then finally, things like your toilets and your showers as well. Lovely. Make sure all of that's working really, really well. Okay, so now the snagging is all done in the property. One of the things that we try to bear in mind is to make sure that we're respecting that process, and that it doesn't become an exercise where there are things added to the scope that we see that we want done in the property. It's important to respect what you've asked the builders for in the first place, and the snagging is all about just making sure that things are done correctly according to the specification. So now that we've done that, on Monday, we're going to follow up with the builders, get their assessment, their report once they've gone around the property, and then we will align on everything that needs to be done. So we will be back with another video next time, and that's going to be all about the finishing touches. So you're going to see pretty much what the property will look like in its end state, and we can't wait to see you. See you soon.